Hi everyone. Today I will be sharing with you the second module on nurturing the human psyche, which is the stage 2 or independent stage. Again, this is a continuation of our discussion on psychosocial spiritual approach or holistic approach in development. This is based on Eric Erickson's stages of development. So to start with, I'd like to do some brief recap on our previous video. We talked about stage 1, which is the total reliance from 0 to 2 years old. In this stage, the major or developmental task that a child has to accomplish between 0 to 2 years old is what we call basic trust. And basic trust is defined as the ability to entrust our hearts to God and within wise boundaries to others. Okay. And this is also the sense that I am okay. You are okay, even if the situation is far from being perfect. And basic trust is also the root of true self-confidence and freedom from social expectations or expectations from us by other people. Also, it is a courage to enter into a relationship and the capacity of one to have true conscience. Okay, and likewise, it is the ability to have center of decision from within to decide based on our will. Okay, and it helps from judging its caretakers. It prevents us from um, forming negative judgment towards our caregivers, towards our parents and loved ones. And supremely, basic trust is the capacity to be human being. Okay, that's the core of our being as human. And then basic trust as well is enable us to relate to others. As I and you, I and thou, rather than I and it. So it recognizes others with soul and spirit and not object or things, but fellow human being. So it gives us that recognition uh, that we are fully human, just like anybody else, no, with feelings, with intentions, uh, in all soul and spirit, uh, different from an object or things, no, or animals. Okay. So we ended with the word of wisdom from Psalms 22:9, and it says, "Yet you brought me out of the womb, you made me trust in you, even at my mother's breast." So that's the foundation of basic trust in this context, in this concept. That's how important is breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, and if not breastfeeding, the child has to be held tenderly, um, with warm affections during 0 to 2 years old with both parents, father and mother, so that the child can experience that degree or sense of vulnerability, sense of um, safety in the arms of the parents, no, from the bosom of the parents. So that's basically what the ano, major experience that the child has to have during the stage beginning from the womb up to 2 years old. Okay, now we move on to the second stage, which is the independence. This happens between 2 to 4 years old. Okay, what is needed to create proper independence? Well, in this concept, we have, um, as parents, we have to provide the child, no, the experience to the freedom to say no without harsh discipline. So during this stage, the child has to, just have has to be given that experience to defy the authority once in a while, no? To disagree with us, to disobey once in a while. So without getting harsh discipline, it's a discipline. Um, how do we do this? When they say no, because most of the time during this stage they are actually fond of saying no, uh, and minsan hindi naman talaga nila mean to say no. They don't actually understand why they are saying no, why do they disagree to the parents or to the caregiver. So masaya lang sila, lagi lang silang automatic response nila minsan ay no, no and no and no. Without really having to understand why. So dito po, parents should not take it personally kasi normal sa bata. It's a normal development for the child to assert, no, to deviate during the stage kasi when we say independence, unti-unti na po silang nag-establish ng kanilang ng kanilang likes and dislikes during the stage. Okay? So it's not always necessarily that they disrespect us, that they want to disrespect adults, nor they are disobedient. No, it's just normal process of development. The crucial role of the parents during this stage is to understand the concept of training the child. No? So paulit-ulit, sasabihin kung ano ang tama, ano ang dapat gawin. It has to happen by demonstration, not always through lecture or not sometimes our explanation may not mean so much to the kids during this stage, but it's actually more on modeling demonstration of how they should uh, uh, be accomplished. Okay, so ito po yung ito yung crucial dito. Okay. And they should also be given the freedom to venture away from and return to consistently affectionate parents. So how do we provide this freedom for kids during this stage? Ito po yung time na kids are still exploring. They tend to be curious for a lot of things. They sometimes try to to um, cross their boundaries at some point. So, ang ano pong dapat gawin dito ng parents, sometimes it violate rules, no? Sabi ng wag lumabas ng bahay, pero lumabas ng bahay. Sabi ng wag sumama kay ate, kay kuya, pero ate. Sabi ng wag umalis, pero umalis. So, how do you find the how do you respond to this sense, this sense of independence being demonstrated that are manifesting in the child. So we are to respond to them with affection consistently. Okay? Ito po ay medyo tumatak sa akin ito kasi when my boy was just so little actually during this stage, no. Um, there was a time na ang hilig niyang makipagtaguan, hide and seek sa bahay. Pero there was a time na nakipagtaguan siya sa loob ng mall. So that was that was of course it's a no-no. That caused an alarm on my part kasi things can actually get that serious. And there was a time na I have to tell my son na in any case na hindi niya ako makita sa loob ng mall. Uh, Hindi niya ako masundan. No? Of course, I have to secure my child. Pero just in case na mangyari yon, he got separated from me. I have to tell my son that he has to come back to the place where uh, where we separated. Kasi I will be there waiting for him. I'm not go somewhere else. Just go back to the place where he has seen me. Doon na po yun yung So, nangyari na wala na siya. Nung nawala siya, of course, I got worried, but in my mind, I have to keep my word na hindi ako dapat umalis kung saan ako nandoon. Okay, so I alerted the security guard, I alerted the sales lady, pero even from them, wala daw sila nakita. So, talagang, it was the worst feeling. But after siguro mga 15 minutes, 20 minutes, mga 15 minutes, may dumating na mga crowd ng mga tao. Tapos sa likod niya pala, sa likod ng mga tao, yun yung anak ko, papalapit na, pabalik na sa akin. So that was the time na nakita ko countenance ng anak ko. He was so devastated, teary-eyed at namumula na talaga siya. Naghalo yung disappointment and takot and mixed emotion. So, ako naman, yung emotion ko, siyempre, ang tendency ko, yung natural tendency ko talaga, siyempre, why? Yung magagalit talaga ako. Pero knowing this principle, somehow, kailangan ma-manage ng, I have to manage my feeling and think of my son more than what I am feeling. So, using the same principle, I look at my son instead of I'm ready to nag. No, but then I wait for my son and we look at him. I smile back. I'll just smile at my son just to give them the impression that I'm okay and it's okay. No, so when he approached me, I just hugged him and I said, "Anak, thank you that you came back for me." And that was the exact word I said actually. And that's it. Nakita ko na nag-meltdown na siya, nawala na yung takot niya, and that was fine. I remember that. And that to me is the application of this principle that he can return to consistently affectionate parents. Kasi if not, pwedeng siguro nasaktan ko siya, napalo ko siya, nanag ko siya, at maraming man ako nasabi, Um, pero it was also intentional on my part that I have to tell him na I'm there waiting for him. That I'm glad that he came back for me kasi there would be another stage, especially when he turned as a teenager, na talagang is not just venturing away. He would have to stay with your friends maybe overnight for a week. So kailangan meron siyang memory na may nanay, may tatay na naghihintay sa kanya. I can always come back and he know where to find us. And it's okay. Basta alam namin kung nasaan siya. So that was actually a prelude for that experience. Okay? So, and then another principle is to be disciplined fairly and lovingly. This principle, of course, one example would be before the rule has to be cleared. Yung house rules, it has to be cleared. Malinaw. It has to be discussed prior to the implementations. Kailangan alam ng bata na bago pa siya madisiplina, alam niya na kung anong mangyayari kung siya magko-commit ng mali. Before committing the mistake, he should know what will be the consequence for that. Okay. So malinaw po, halimbawa, pagka hindi siya nag-aral, mabuti at inunan yung paglalaro ng computer, so siguro baka wala siyang baon, no? Pwedeng gano'n. So, at least alam niya or kaya mag-aaral siyang mag-spend siya ng extra time for for study. So, that could be one. Pero dapat alam niya, hindi pupuwede na basta na lang kung ano lang yung consequences. Kung ano lang naisipan ng caregiver, ng nanay at tatay. Hindi po pupuwede 'yan. And being fair as well, it could mean na age appropriate yung disiplina. Kung 2 to 4 years old, maliit pa ang katawan niyan, hindi naman kailangan. So siguro stick lang kung kailangan mamalo, no? Sometimes yung stick cannot be avoided, no? Pero as a discipline, okay. Pero it has to be age appropriate. Kung bata pa, syempre hindi naman kailangan dos por dos ang gamitin mo dyan, no? At tama din lang yung force, no? Uh, okay. Hindi naman pupuwede na parang mapipilay na yung bata 'no, o kaya yung mga hanger napuputol na yung mga hanger. Kayo ba may mga hanger pa sa bahay niyo, buo pa ba yung mga hanger niyo sa bahay? Those are the usual thing that would parents or caregiver would actually use to hit the child. So, especially during yung mga spanking. Um, and then and it's a no-no. When you use the stick, you use the same stick na alam ng bata yun talaga pamalo lang. Itabi niyo na yun. Hindi pupuwedeng kung ano lang na nahagip 'no, kung ano naisip ko, kung ano pinakamalapit puwede bang minsan sinturon, minsan yantok 'no, hindi po pupuwedeng gano'n. So dapat meron talagang stick ready na kung magkakamali, yun ang puwedeng ipalo at kung saan papaluin sa puwet normally. Yung puwet talaga yung pinaka-safe na place na puwedeng palo at tama lang yung lakas. Another thing, Lovingly, when we discipline the child, it has to be because we love the child. We want to correct the behavior, not because we hate. No, there's so much hate and rage in us, not because we are so disappointed to the child. Hindi po gano'n. We love the child so that we wanted him to understand um, the consequences or the importance, of course, of doing it right. Okay? Pero tama lang para maitama yung mali. Not to the point of crushing the spirit of the child. Yung parang gumuho naman yung mundo ng bata. So actually those are examples of abuse as well, no? Psychological trauma and physical abuse is the opposite. Okay. So those are examples of fairly and lovingly. Alam ng bata yung consequences so he can decide for himself, no? Kung gagawin niya yung tama o gagawin yung mali. So he knows the consequences and the benefit as well. He has to know the benefit of doing it right. And lovingly as parents, we have to discipline the child out of love, not out of rage or anger or disappointments. And then, if basic trust and therefore independence are acquired as a child, so he has accomplished two developmental tasks, the basic trust and independence, the child can be expected to, number one, have the courage to say no to giant adults because adults here are described as giants, no? So ang laki ng gap in terms of physical size, talagang malaki ang adult kasi sa bata, sa 2 to 4 years old, has to look up while the adult has to look down. But if you want to talk to the child, again, pwede sa level, you have to level with the child, no? And then, this is important, yung saying no to giant adults kasi later on in their lives, they'll be expected to interact with adults. And, during this stage, 2 to 4 years old, some kids, especially yung mga batang babae, are vulnerable to abuse. Okay, so they can, they can say no to the abuser. Pwede yun. Kasi, for example, sa sexual abuse, some perpetrators, no, some, some, tawag dito, parang predators, no, they would tell the child not to tell anyone about what happened. So, for a child with positive development, that cannot be. He would always go and tell the parents because he trusts his parents more than the uh, abuser. So, hindi pa pwede na gano'n. Magkasabi talaga ng totoo sa parents kasi alam niyang sa parents safe siya, sa parents secure siya. Okay? So, it's important for the parents to make his child safe and can be trusted so that they can always go back to the parents. Ang hirap po no'n, nagsumbong yung bata pa yung pinagalitan. And, in some cases, ganun, may mga parents na gano'n. Kailangan ng bata ng tulong, pero imbis na dapat tinulungan, sila pa yung pinagalitan. Agrabyado na yung anak, no? Sila pa yung pinagalitan. And there are cases like that. Dito sa principle na to, yung bata yung tinitrain to say no to giant adults. And it's okay. Sometimes parents, adults can feel na disrespected, but at some points, hindi po, it's not about being disrespected kasi yung safety uh, is far more important, no? Especially in the face of the abuser. Okay. Then the child would have also the courage to wander away, knows that mom and dad will still be there. So ito yung mga bata between 2 to 4 years old. Hindi pa ito school age, no? So they would have this ability to, later on, they are prepared to go to school away from their parents and knowing that they can always go back home safe and their mom and dad waiting. Okay, so later on, yan, um, magandang palatandaan ng positive development. Then, the child also can overcome separation anxiety. So, di ba, during the first stage, there such thing, attachment yan eh. Yung tinatawag nating attachment kasi bonding yan. yung basic trust actually is um, the stage of attachments to, especially with the mother. No, so the child will positive development, acquiring good sense of independence, can overcome separation anxiety. Kung meron man, it will be very for a short time kasi meron siyang excitement to do things on his own and curiosity. Yan. So, ganon, excited silang pumunta sa school later on. And then, can tell the difference between me and you or individuation. Ito po napakahalaga nito kasi during this stage is also an introduction to uh, a lot of things. That's why kids in this stage they keep asking asking questions and after questions, no. So how do we respond to that? We have to answer their questions seriously and sensibly. Kasi seryoso sa kanila, no matter how parang simple or insensible their questions are. But for the kids, those are very sensible questions. They really wanted to know a lot of things. Sometimes they ask about sex, they ask about how babies are made, yung mga ganun, they ask about their body parts. And 2 years old actually is the beginning of sexual orientation, knowing that I and me are different, knowing their own sexes, no, biological sex and sexual orientations. It's the parent actually that has to provide them with that orientation sa bahay pa lang. They have to teach their kids, no? Nagtatanong yan no? So, again, parenting is intentional. So, lahat ng ito, ang training comes with the parents. Not from the environment kasi yung first social experience na comes with the family. Ganun po ganun katutok yung family, yung parenting. And okay, so me and you, no? Ako at ikaw magkaiba. We may be both humans, no? But they could also tell the difference between you and me, between him at saka sa kanyang uh, playmates, right? So those are part of the orientations or trainings days. Then we also have yung part ng sexuality, no? Dito po, any question that comes to their mind pertaining to sexual thing are pure and no malice at all. So dapat dito ay maingat ang mga adults, no, ang caregivers, not to put malice in in the child kasi doon sila na sexualize no. So sexuality, they have to know what is male, what is female, and the difference between the two. Uh, they get also to introduce into orientation of both sexes, and they have to be supported for the identity that they have, for the identity that they are born with. Okay? So, yung sexuality po, the first, may ano po ito, may major role ang parents. For example, for a boy, the masculinity has to be called for by the father. Napakahalaga po ng role ng tatay sa sexuality ng kanyang anak na lalaki. It has to be demonstrated. It has to be called for. So yung physical sex, like pagiging babae o lalaki, is there, but to call for, to train that, to train or call for the masculine soul or feminine soul, um, the parents has to take on that role, the challenge. Paano yun? Sa mga lalaki po, merong second stage na tinatawag, and we call it masculine introjection. So while the boy was conceived by a mother, no? The boy is conceived by the mother, pero during this stage, beginning 2 years old, dapat ang tatay unti-unti nang nagbaban ng mas malapit sa anak na lalaki. At si nanay naman, unti-unti dapat nagdi-distance sa anak na lalaki. Why? So that the father and the boy, no, can bond together. And that is what we call masculine introjection. Sa Tagalog, parang si tatay ipinapasa niya o tinatawag niya ang pagkalalaki ng kanyang anak na lalaki. Okay? Yun po yung orientation na healthy. That's a healthy orientation. At si nanay naman sa kanyang anak na babae, tuloy-tuloy din yung kanyang orientation, and we call it same-sex nurturance. He has to nurture the same feminine soul to the child, to the daughter. Okay. Mas madali po sa mga babae kasi si nanay ang nagdala sa sinapupunan, tapos si nanay din ang kanyang gagayahin. Si nanay din ang mag-educate sa kanya, mag-orient sa kanya, paano maging babae, paano, ano yung role na meron siya. So, yun yung mas medyo madali. Sa mga lalaki, medyo may challenge kasi in our culture, ang mga lalaki ay mga providers. They are not home-based most of the time. So sa parenting nang naiiwan si nanay. Tapos, dahil si tatay laging wala, o most of the time, uh, si nanay ang kasama. So ang tendency, no, ang tendency ng bata, lalaki, if the parents are not aware, this is the stage we're in. We call it in psychology na ano no, modeling. Di ba? Yung the kids are just after trying to copy or imitation stage, what they see from their parents and caregivers. No? So, ganun. Kahit si Junior tsaka si Neneng, pwedeng ini-imitate niya lang si nanay. And the nanay does have all the nanay don't have all the capacity, inherent capacity to call forth those um, masculine soul from the boy, no, kay Junior. So it really has to be called for by the tatay. Nevertheless, while growing up, marami pang factors na pwede siyang maano din, ma-compensate. Kasi meron ding mga mentors that are masculine in nature. No? So pwede rin po yun na, pwede pa rin po yun na ma-call for in the process of development. Okay. And then we also have what we call identity. And identity, of course, this is part of our uh, part of us na katulad ng thumbprint that cannot be changed no matter what we do with it. It's there and it's there to stay because it's our identity, no? Okay. Then we also have the principle of fair treatment for the child. Even when he is naughty, he has to be treated fairly. Okay, so hindi naman pwede na dahil naughty si Junior, si Nening lang ang merong benefits lagi. So, merong mga ano yan. Merong kung anong meron yung isa, dapat meron din yung isang anak. Lahat meron. Lahat siya nag-aaral. Kahit sabihin natin na achiever yung isa less achiever, pero dapat lahat siya nag-aaral. That's fair enough, right? Hindi pwede hindi fair yung dahil yung isa achiever, si ano wag na lang, wag na lang mag-aral, mag-vocational na lang. Hindi po ganun yun. Allow the child to choose for himself. Oh, that's fair enough. Okay. Okay, and siguro yung motivation. Then, during this stage, a child can play alongside but can't yet fully interact with other children. So, again, during this stage, even if the child can play na with other kids, pero kulang pa rin yung kanyang skill to interact with other children. Ano pa rin po ito, the parents or caregiver should always be around, no, to provide yung guidance and yung safety and security. So formative years pa rin po ito, so napakahalaga ditong caregivers pa rin ang responsable. Then, what are the adult issues? For example, when basic trust and sense of independence are not fully acquired or developed, number one, the adult may struggle in being a conformist or saying no. So, hindi siya makatanggi. Oo lang ng oo, kahit hirap o kahit hindi niya naman problema. Okay, yan, conformist ang tawag po doon. Then can also be confused or undisciplined. So there would be part of her life maybe becomes unmanageable, hindi alam kung saan papunta, hindi alam kung anong planong gagawin, hindi alam kung saan magsisimula, and maybe some other factors. Okay. Then can't interact in relationships, either complies or dominates. So when it comes to relationship, the person, the adult may have problems like either always complying or can also be the one that always dominates the relationship. Yan para pong sadistang yung tawag po dito pwedeng mas sadista, hinahayaan niya siya ang nasasadista, pero pwede rin na um, ng masokista, no? So, relationship ng sadista at masokista or vice versa, no? Pwede pong ganon. And, okay. Then, enters dependent or codependent relationship. Okay, yung ano po, yung compliant lagi, walang walang say, walang desisyon, laging pinapaubaya yung desisyon sa kanyang uh, sa iba, sa kanyang karelasyon. That's an ingredient for codependent relationship. And let me end this module again from Proverbs 22. Train up the child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. Okay, let me correct that. He will not depart from it. Uh, this is this is a good this is a word of wisdom that describes why training is so important during this stage, kasi the moment the habit is already established, uh, when the child turns adult na, ang hirap ng i-break, especially yung mga negative habits. It's important to establish the positive habits so that when he grow old, it will just continue to develop. Okay? So, yung negative habit is also true na ang hirap nang i-break kapag ka na-establish na. And one of these habits, yung mga addictive behaviors. Okay. Addictive thoughts, negative behaviors, mahirap i-break unless we can pinpoint where did it started in childhood. Saan siya nagsimula, so that we can address to that without really going back to the feelings, but just rather pointing the truth in it. Ano talaga ang nangyari? And then we move forward. Okay? We don't romanticize the feelings. So that's how it works. And many others. Okay, thank you so much. If you want you want to listen to more videos from Elijah House, Video School International, you can search their website online. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.